Confess that we are a bit different from the other people who were talking before, because we are new users only of Askia, and it's a great pleasure for us to be now users of Askia, but OpinionWise is existing now since 10 years, and it's only this month then we began to use the Askia web survey application, and we are very pleased to do that with them, because we really think that it's for us an occasion to rethink about our tools. We were using the same tools until 10 years, and I think that even if we were very in the innovation at the beginning, because we were one of the first French research company who were using online surveys, there was a lot of change in the world since 10 years, and now using online survey is it's very classical, and we really have to think about how to use them better and to change the way we were interviewing people on that kind of survey. So that's why I would like to talk a little about looking for new ways of interviewing people. I think that we have just, to begin, think about, for us there are many issues about this question of interviewing people and the way we have to do it, but I have listed 4 of them, 4 issues which are very important for us, and which I would like to develop a little before showing you things we have done in the previous one. Sorry. So first of all, we have a problem of fidelity with panelists, and we have really to think about how to increase the fidelity of panelists. For example, from 2007 and 2010, in our access panel at OpinionWay, there are 50% of the panelists who were not here in 2007, 3 years ago. And as you know, to recruit some people in an access panel has a cost. And when you think about that, you have to really realize also that to lose some people has a cost, and a very important cost for a research company who has an access panel. So that's a first important point. The second important point for me is the question of responding rates. So it's not only a problem on online surveys, of course, but it's really an important problem. And when we look at the way that people are responding in our panel, at the beginning, 5-6 years ago, we had about a 65% rate level of answer in our access panel. I mean, when we were wanting to ask 1,000 people, we only had to contact 1,500 people. Now, you're about only 35% in our access panel, so you have to contact 3,000 people to have 1,000 answers. So that's a very important issue also for us, and we have to think about how we could improve these respondent rates. You can find the same issues, of course, on the telephone surveys, for example, but obviously when you have an access panel, it's a very important point. A third problem is the question of full, complete questionnaires. I mean, if you look at how many people are beginning the questionnaire and are not finishing it, it's about, it can change a lot, of course, depending on the survey, and one of the most important points on that is the quality of the questionnaire, the duration of the questionnaire, of course. But the way you are interviewing people is also an issue on that point. And we have about, I would say, between 5 and 10% of people who are beginning the questionnaire and who are not completed it. And it's also a very important point, because on the quality of the sample, of course, the less you have people who are quitting the questionnaire, the better your sample is. And the last point is how to keep in touch with your panelists. At the beginning of online access panels, it was very easy. I mean, when you were contacting people to wait for their answer. But now, with problem of spamming, especially when you are sending an email for a new research, for a new survey to a panelist, sometimes it's really in the flow of 100 emails that he receives during the day, and it's much more difficult for him to identify this email. Sometimes it's also not going in the mailbox straight, but going in the spam box. So we have also this kind of problem, and this way to how to keep in touch is also a very important issue, and the problem we have now with online research is pretty the same that you can have with telephone surveys or face-to-face surveys. So because of all of this, we are, I would like to, I mean, I was very interested with what John said this morning when he said that you had 3 things to think about: participation, the information, and do you think do people think that they are listened when they are in a community? And I think that if you take these 3 ideas and you apply it to access panels, online access panels, we can say that, of course, participation we offer them, because we allow them to give their opinion on different issues. Information we don't use to give them information. It's not the practical way we are doing online surveys in France. And the last point, to be listened, and the fact that you're giving them the opinion that they will be listened, we are not really sure that it's the way they are feeling when they have answered an online research or another research, and that's also a very interesting issue for us. So we have done some research on new tools that we could use to improve all these problems that we encountered, and I would like to show you 2 ways that you have tried to develop. So what you have to understand is that we did that. It's not really a tool that we use regularly. It's a tool that we use and that we created to really try to know if it had an impact on the level of rate response, on the way that people are staying in the panel, on all these kind of things. And what we're thinking is that because we have very interesting results on that we could now maybe think about develop it to use it more often and pretty regularly on our panel. The first example that I will show you. So I'm sorry because it's in French, of course. So I'm going to translate what's going on. So this first example is a traditional written questionnaire, but the only thing is that you will go you will see that it tries to show that it takes in account your opinion and the way you're answering in the way it is asking you questions. So for example, it asks me for my first name, so Bruno, and so for the second question is using the fact that you are answering with your first name, and if, for example, you ask me about what was the most important event that struck me last week, I can say, for example, the economic crisis, and so it's going to use this answer to ask you another question, especially on the event that struck you. And for example, now he's asking me how do you think about the crisis? What is important for you? So I said that unemployment, that recession, that difficulties that I encountered are important. So now you can have a classical question, so how deep do you think is the crisis on the and has the effect on the unemployment in France? So I would say pretty important. And so he's still using your answer to ask you, you think that it will have pretty important consequences. So what are the words which are the most important for you if you look at, if you think about it? So if I say, for example, again, unemployment, or I would say, I don't know, debt of the country, for example. And you ask it, and so it will use this answer still to ask you a question about the unemployment, especially because it's an important issue. So you can, what is interesting is that it can use straightly your answers. You can also have a database behind it, and if you use the one of the word of the database, it asks you a question on this word, and the other idea is that we realize that the fact that the question is appearing not straightly but as if someone was typing it is also very interesting because it gives the feeling of a conversation with the questioner. So that's another question about your bank. So he asks you about the confidence you have in your bank. And so at the end, he asks you also, what is your bank? Which company? And so when he is asking you the next question, he's also using the name of the company to ask you an open-ended question about it. So, and another exercise that we made in this point was to see if it was giving you some insight about your personal life. There was an impact on the way you will answer to the questionnaire. So here he is asking me my year of birth and in which city do I live. And so you will see that he will make a remark on the city in which I live at the end when he's ending the questionnaire. So he said, oh, Paris, that's a very nice city. You're lucky if you're living in Paris, because it can work also with Beauvais or another city in France, which are not so nice. So that's the first example on the way we can give the impression that there is an exchange and a conversation between the questioner and the people who is filling it. If we go at the other, I will show you another example. So, which is a bit different. You will see it's to use a small video inside a traditional Kawi questionnaire to have some animation and to, I would say that, maintain the interest of the respondent, to keep it in touch with the questionnaire and to try to really take it until the end of the questionnaire. So, if we
Bonjour et bienvenue, je suis Éléonore. Prenez le temps de répondre à ce questionnaire. Votre avis compte. À tout de suite.
So just for the beginning, she says to you, hello, welcome to the questionnaire, and take your time and answer the questions. And I will see you later, and we'll discuss with you later. So you can go on with the questionnaire.
Vous avez presque fini. Il ne reste que 5 questions. Allez, encore un petit effort. Vous êtes super.
So just here, she's actually talking about the place in the questionnaire where you are. I mean, she said that you have only 5 questions until the end of the questionnaire. So it's another way to talk about these screw bars just on the bottom, and to really try to keep you until the end. Of course, there's not an intervention at all on all questions. We have animations during the other questions where she is smaller and she's just waiting for your answer like this during the questionnaire.
Ça y est, bravo, vous m'avez épaté. Merci de votre participation. Vous pouvez maintenant créditer votre compte de MaxiMiles ou verser votre gain à une des associations caritatives sélectionnées par OpinionWay.
So at the end, she just explained that actually you are very, very performant to go until the end of the questionnaire, and she's very proud of you, and that you, as we are doing in all our surveys, you can choose between taking your incentives, your points, or giving them to an association, a caritative association. So that's another test that we've done to do, and what is interesting is that you can implement it on different Kawi system. I mean, it's not linked with the software. It's something that you can develop on any software that you use. What were the results of this experience? Because we were trying to see if it was an effect. I would say that the effect was pretty good, because we realized that the traditional incomplete questionnaire, we were about 7% in this kind of surveys with this length of questionnaire, was only of 2% on this survey, with both systems. I showed you. And the other point was when we analyzed the rate of response of the same panelists on the next survey, it increased from 40%, I mean 40% should have answered to the next survey in the panelist, to 60 in this case when we used this system. So of course it's difficult to be sure that if you always use this system, people won't be used with it, and we'll still be interested in it, and we'll find it very fun all the time. But it shows that you can really, in the way you're interviewing people, trying ways to really increase the primary encounter. So if we think about why panelists like it, and we talk with them about that, first of all, it's because it's fun. And that's really interesting, because the traditional point of view in the research is to think that surveys, they don't have to be fun. They have to be serious. And so what is interesting to see is the fact that if you want more people to answer to your survey, it's better if they are fun. And it's the same that when it's better if the questionnaire is interesting, it's better if the survey gives the impression that it has it's intelligent and well constructed, and the fact that it's fun, it's also a very important point. And the other point is that the fact that they were really thinking that their opinion was much more taken in account with this kind of system than in a traditional questionnaire. So I think that it's interesting, and what we are now, because we are now changing our KOE system with Askia, I think that we are going to, in the next months and next years, really think about how to develop these kind of things with them to implement it on their software to really improve it. If we are thinking about going further at that point, which is just trying to improve our tools and our traditional tools, I think that we have now having a lot of reflections in OpinionWay about it, and I would just want to share some of them with you. First of all, it's what we saw before with John about online communities, and the difference between access panel and online communities. I mean, I'm very interested about this, because I think that obviously 10 years ago when we created our access panel, we really thought that we really had to use it as an access panel, so to try to be not too close from our panelists, not to have too much relationship with them, because it was very important to have non-professional respondents in our online surveys. What has changed for me in 10 years now is the fact that now everybody is using online communities. Everybody in our panel, I guess, is belonging to an online communities, and maybe to many online communities. So I think that this separation between both is not maybe so important now, and that we have to think in the way we are using Access Panel and the way we are talking with them. We have to really think about the way people are using online communities and how to much more manage the panel as an online community, because of course it's one. It's an online community. It's just the fact that you are not doing anything to animate it for the moment, and I think that we really have to change that. And especially when you have a basis of, as in OpinionWay, we have about 70,000 people in your panel. It's really stupid not to give them the possibility to give you information from the bottom. I mean, we are going always from the top to the bottom, but it's very interesting, I think, and there's a lot of clients who would like to have this possibility to take information coming from the basis, and which would be different, but very interesting qualitatively. That's the first point. The second point is, of course, that we are also thinking about behavior analysis and how we can use an access panel for behavior analysis, not only asking them questions, but trying to observe them and to know what they are doing. The point is that I think that one of the maybe a solution that we can have now on this issue is what all the way we have to localize them geographically, and maybe that we can use these new tools to try to also mix these different kind of making research on them. And another point which is important is the fact that, of course, there's one risk on all these kind of things if we are going on much more using the panel also as an online community. The problem is there a risk of addiction from them? I mean, of professional answers, of much more people who are not really, who will not be any more representative of the population we want to research on. I think that obviously it's a risk that we really think that we can take, because first of all, it's our job to do samplings, and it's not because you will increase the rate level of answer that you are not able to choose that you will limit the number of surveys that you are doing on them. You are still doing sampling on inside the access panel. And the second point is, as I said, I think the world has changed, and now online communities are really a traditional thing for them, and I think that we have also to think about it and to have that in mind. So to go further, what we are also thinking is the fact that another problem now, as I said, is how to keep in touch with the panel and with people who have so many emails during the day, so maybe won't see our email for surveys. So that's why also we think that we really have to think about the way we could interview on mobile phone. And before, I think with the first models of mobile phone, it was very difficult. We could only do traditional surveys and not really good with mobile system interviewing. Now, what is interesting with the iPhone, what we are doing and what is interesting is the fact that you can mix traditional way of surveying with this kind of mobile phone, and also you can invent some new tools and new way to interview them also. So what we have chosen to do is not to work with a specific developer of iPhone applications, because we thought that we really needed to have, first of all, a link between our panel, our access panel, our system of interviewing on the web, and the way we will interview on the iPhone. And so we decided to work with Askia and an Askia partner on that point, because what is interesting is that the fact that you will use the Askia Web software to write the query, and it can be used also on the iPhone. So that's, of course, very, very interesting for us, not to have to do twice the job if we want to send a survey as both on the online panel and also on the mobile panel. That's the first point. The other point is the fact that they will also use the same tools to use the database, the access panel itself. So people who are in the traditional online panel will be able to be on the mobile panel if they have an iPhone, for example, and if they want to take the applications. But of course, we will be able to use them and to manage them with the same tool. That's the really interesting point, is that we have all integration of the system with this product. What also is interesting, I think, is that of course you can use questionnaires, traditional questionnaire, asking them, for example, question on how they would like to vote at the next presidential election, and what they want to buy. With traditional question, as you can see here, but we will try to develop also, and we try to develop also new ways of interviewing on this tool. First thing is the fact that, of course, as we will choose to put the applications on the App Store, we can have people who are already our panelists who will take it, and so they will have just to give their IDs, and they will be able to be contacted for surveys. But also people who are not, for the moment, inside our panelists. So there, when they will take the application, they will of course be able to register and to enter the application at the beginning. What is interesting is that we can of course do textual numeric questions, unique or multiple choice, but we're also trying to have really different things and new tools. One of these is of course using the multimedia applications of the iPhone. We will allow them to send us photos, videos, which is very interesting. I mean, since 2006 at OpinionWay, we're able to when we are doing online research, asking them some open-ended questions by their webcam, so they can talk to the webcam, and so we have the video of their answer, which is very interesting to illustrate and to show to the clients how people are saying the things and how they are answering to these kind of questions. And we, during the presidential campaign in 2007, we had with the JDD, one of the newspaper of the weekend, and their website, this kind of small videos to illustrate the result of the quantitative surveys on people who were explaining why they were against or in favor of this kind of issue or this proposal. But the problem with the webcam is the quality of the video, which is not very good. We had a lot of experience with people who were too small, so we had only a kind of very, very nice wall behind them, but not their face when they were answering the question. Some of them, the microphone was not working, so you have a very nice face, but we don't hear what they are saying. So that's an important problem, and so what is interesting with the iPhone is the quality of the video is much more better, and it's much more easiest to use, and obviously with the new models. With a camera in the front, not only on the back of the phone, it will be much more easier again to do that and to have this kind of things. Photos, it's very interesting. Also, if you want to send them in some places, to ask them for example in a supermarket to show you what they some part of the supermarket they like or they find very easy to use, and some part that they don't like. You can do these kind of things also very easily. Another new tool will be, of course, to use geographical localization, and that's very new for us. So I think that it's a very important possibility, but what we really have to think is how to use it, because obviously it's new for us. And another point will be that we will have in the application what we call a tweet opinion, which will be a kind of closed Twitter inside the application. I mean, if you, for example, tomorrow is beginning the World Cup of football, and if we want to do a survey on how people are reacting on the first game of the French team, which will be tomorrow night, we can have them to use the application as if they were using Twitters, by sending some message when they want to say something, when they want to talk, with the very interesting point, if you compare to what you can do on analysis, what is said on Twitter, is the fact that you don't have the opinion leaders of Twitter who sometimes are sending one tweet every 2 minutes and who are really organizing the debate. So they won't, we won't have that, and also we can also choose some very specific population to ask them to use this kind of tool. So you see, it's of course it's going to be it's what is interesting with this new tools is the fact that you can do more than in traditional survey. If it's only to do questions as we were doing on the on online research, it's not really interesting, I think, because I think that what is interesting the clients is to really find new ways also to take the opinion of the people. And last point I would show you on this application is the fact that what is interesting also is this idea to use the knowledge of people who are doing software of interviewing people. So they have the experience about that. They know what you have to be careful about, what you have to think about when you are doing the applications, but also to take into account our specific needs, our ideas, our new our envy to find some new ways to interviewing. And so that's why also we were choosing this way, because of course we could make the choice to have a very, very specific tool which is much more close from what you can find on the App Store, on the other kind of applications. But what is interesting here is it has to stay a very research tool, and it has to be efficient if you want to take the opinion of the people. So I think that that's why also it's interesting, and really the fact that you can link it with also traditional web interviewing surveys is interesting also for us, because we'll be able to read surveys on both mobile or iPhone panelists and on traditional panelists, and to look the difference and to see what are the difference between this population. Are they thinking different? Are they really behaving differently? And it's going to be a very also important point at the beginning of this kind of surveys, to be able to know what are the specifications of this population when you are doing surveys on them. So here are some ideas that we have and that we are trying to implement since now a few years, and for most of them in the next months and next years. And thank you very much for listening.